players' latest offer as deadline closes. Players are seeking a salary cap of $10 million, 30% of league revenue. The league believes it will cost it'll be an atrocious loss. 30% is crazy, bro. How do you give 30% of something you ain't got?
So that frustration you're witnessing right there, that's not just some casual observation. Word is that Adam Silver has reached his absolute limit with these CBA talks. We're looking at 48 hours before a potential lockout hits. And this divide between what players are asking for and what the league can realistically handle isn't just significant. We're talking about a financial gap so massive it could completely shut down the entire 2025 season.
Yeah, according to that report, goes on to say, if you heard a lot of chatter about what we're asking for, it's not sustainable for the business. Nafisa Collier said during an Unrivaled broadcast Monday. Being on this side with Unrivaled, I know what it takes to run a sustainable business. Yeah, but you ain't had this business for 30 damn years. If they can't find a model that makes it happen.
Here's the number that's creating this complete mess. 30%. 2 weeks back, the WNBA Players Association dropped a proposal demanding 30% of gross revenue, with the salary cap skyrocketing from $1.5 million straight up to $10.5 million per team. Front Office Sports verified these numbers on January 7th. The league fired back, saying their calculations showed this proposal would create $700 million in losses throughout the CBA's lifespan. We're not talking about smaller profits here. These are straight-up losses that would bankrupt teams.
They need to put people in place who can. We're proving that it's possible. There is a way. We're thriving in it. Y'all thriving in it. Your league only been around for 2 years. How could you base your 2-year data off 30-year data? They've been having to pay salaries, pay for arenas, pay for different things for the last 30 years. And they just now, we don't even know if they even made a profit. Just last year when Caitlin Clark came, they was at a $24 million loss. Do we all forget this? We can't forget.
That clip you just saw exposes the fundamental issue we're dealing with. The Unrivaled League has been running for under 2 years with a totally different financial structure. But players are pointing to it as evidence that WNBA owners are being dishonest about what's sustainable. But this comparison misses something crucial. For 28 straight years, the WNBA has relied on NBA subsidies to survive. 2023 saw the league lose $40 million. 2024, despite the Caitlin Clark phenomenon creating unprecedented ratings, still ended $24 million. Players have every right to demand more, but they're approaching these talks like the revenue is already sitting there when the books tell a very different story.
About here. Now, Nafisa Collier been tripping. It says both sides agreed to second extension hours before the CBA was set to expire on November the 30th. Last month, the WBPA authorized a strike in a vote that included 93% of participation from players. 98% voted to allow the union's executive committee to call a strike when necessary. Now, if both sides can agree to a third.
So let's break down what the league actually put on the table, because this changes everything. Early December rolled around and the WNBA offered players 70% of net revenue, not the gross revenue players are demanding, but sources close to these negotiations indicate this equals roughly 15% of total league revenue. The salary cap would jump from $1.5 million to $5 million per team. Maximum salaries would top $1.3 million, with average salaries climbing past $500,000 throughout the agreement. That represents more than tripling the current salary cap. Coming from a league that's never seen black ink, that's a massive gesture, but players turned it down flat because they want gross revenue sharing instead of net.
Extension or work stoppage, whether in the form of a lockout initiated by the owners or strike initiated by the players, would not be automatic. If neither side initiated a work stoppage, negotiation could instead enter a period of status quo. Under the terms, so this is what's finna happen possibly, y'all. So it said under the terms of the current CBA, the players cannot strike without terminating the extended agreement. But if negotiations are under status quo, the union could call a strike at any point. So it is.
What makes this whole negotiation so dangerous is this. Both parties have already pushed the deadline back twice. November 30th came first, when the original CBA was supposed to end, then again in late December. Now we're staring at January 7th with that January 9th midnight deadline racing toward us. And nobody has a deal ready. The WNBA Players Association ran a strike authorization vote in November, with 93% of players participating. Among those voters, 98% gave the executive committee power to call a strike whenever they deem necessary. This isn't posturing for leverage. This is a weapon ready to fire. A strike is coming.
It is. If the union could call it, that's probably what's going to happen after the 9th. I'm the first one calling this. That's probably what's going to happen on the 9th, probably late January 9th. No more extensions. It's going to be a strike that will be forced by the union. The union is more than likely, from what I'm reading, it's going to be the ones to inflict this strike onto the WNBA. Now, that's what this...
And here's the mechanism that makes a work stoppage almost certain. Current CBA language prevents players from striking without killing the entire agreement. But once negotiations shift into what's called a status quo period, after January 9th, meaning the old deal stays active while discussions continue, the union gains the power to strike instantly without warning. No extra vote required, no additional authorization needed. The executive committee already holds that authority, so even if January 9th passes without a lockout, the possibility of a mid-season strike would shadow every single game, every broadcast deal, every sponsorship conversation. That uncertainty by itself could crush the league's progress.
Now, I can tell you right now, Adam Silver is frustrated as hell. Like, why we can't get this deal done? Like, it's not for to be a WNBA season, guys. I really don't think it is. Like, not at they're asking for down there half of the revenue. Like, how are we gonna give you half when we don't even have half to give? They don't even have half to give. Yeah, I do understand it, right? Guys, get down in the comment section right now. Let me know your thoughts about this one. Make sure you keep the bells on. Until next time, man.
Let's examine this 30% demand more closely. NBA players collect around 50% of basketball-related income, but we're talking about a league pulling in nearly $10 billion annually, with a profit model proven over decades. The WNBA brought in approximately $200 million during 2024 based on industry analysis. 30% of gross revenue from a $200 million league currently bleeding money means players would claim $60 million right off the top before any bills get paid. Arena expenses, travel costs, staff paychecks, marketing budgets, broadcast production, everything else has to come from the leftover $140 million. Don't forget, the league was already down $24 million last year without this salary structure. The numbers don't just fail to add up, they guarantee complete financial collapse within 3 years.
Talking about the new fans, they're killing the interest. Y'all talking about fans, tweeting, us making videos. Y'all doing everything y'all can to sabotage y'all current little hype that y'all got, to the point now where the hype is so bad, hell, it's hard to get 5,000 views on a video right now. I just got to keep it real because ain't nobody else going to see it. Everybody is struggling. If your name ain't Rachel Demento, you're struggling. I'm sorry. It's that bad. But us trying to report on this thing is keeping on. So
this brings us to why Adam Silver's frustration makes total sense. Multiple reports suggest he thought a deal was basically finished a month ago in early December. The league had presented what they viewed as a generous package, tripling salary caps, establishing revenue sharing for the first time in WNBA history, building a pathway to million-dollar max contracts. Silver expected players to respond with small tweaks, they'd find middle ground, and the announcement would come before Christmas. Instead, players returned with this 30% proposal the league calls financially impossible. Now Silver has to personally jump in and negotiate something he believed was already wrapped up. The countdown continues toward a deadline that could trigger either a lockout or a strike that wipes out all the momentum Caitlin Clark's rookie year generated.
So with that being said, bruh, let's dive into this article that has just been released about an hour ago, man. This is from Front Office Sports. Not even an hour, about a good hour ago. So this is the current state of the WNBA. So WNBA has encountered.
This part should worry every WNBA supporter out there. The league just completed its greatest season ever. Caitlin Clark generated ratings that jumped 4 times higher in certain markets. Indiana Fever transformed from playing before 4,000 fans to packing 17,000-seat venues. Merchandise sales went through the roof. National media attention hit unprecedented levels for the WNBA. Corporate sponsors who had ignored the league for decades suddenly came calling, and the players' reaction to this historic growth is demanding a financial framework that would eliminate all those achievements and send the league spiraling into impossible losses. This isn't about whether players deserve better compensation. They absolutely do. The problem is, demanding 30% of gross revenue from a league that's never turned a profit isn't negotiating. It's organizational suicide. What makes this mess so incredibly frustrating for everyone is this. Players have real complaints worth addressing. WNBA compensation has been embarrassingly inadequate for professional athletes at this level. Countless players have needed overseas work year-round just to earn reasonable money. The league underinvested in promotion for decades. Ownership treated the WNBA like charitable work instead of legitimate business. All completely accurate, but fixing decades of neglect doesn't happen by demanding financial arrangements that ensure the league's destruction. The Caitlin Clark effect demonstrated the WNBA's growth potential. But building takes time. You can't repair 30 years of stagnation with one successful season and a revenue model that defies basic economics. The league's 70% net revenue offer actually creates a solid foundation. Net revenue means after covering expenses like arenas, travel, production, and staff, whatever remains gets divided with players receiving the majority share. That's workable. That enables expansion. That builds a partnership where everyone wins when the league prospers. But gross revenue sharing means players get paid before expenses. That functions in the NBA because revenue is so enormous that even after players take 50% of gross, billions remain to handle costs and create profits. In a $200 million league currently losing money, 30% off the top spells financial disaster. Here's something important about Adam Silver jumping in. He doesn't need to be involved. The NBA subsidizes the WNBA. But Silver could easily tell ownership to handle this themselves. His personal participation in negotiations proves the NBA remains committed to success. But that commitment isn't unlimited. If players force a strike or owners launch a lockout and the 2025 season gets canceled or seriously disrupted, all that Caitlin Clark momentum disappears. Casual fans who just discovered the league won't stick around waiting for labor disputes to end. Sponsors will move their money elsewhere. Broadcasters will replace programming with other content. The opportunity window that cracked open in 2024 slams shut and might stay closed for another decade. Consider what's actually on the line right now. The WNBA has never been more relevant, visible, or financially promising than this moment. Expansion discussions are happening. New markets are expressing interest. Young girls are buying jerseys and filling seats in record numbers. The cultural breakthrough finally arrived. And players are threatening to destroy it over a revenue-sharing percentage that sports industry financial experts universally call unsustainable, not challenging, impossible. The calculations have been reviewed by numerous analysts. 30% of gross revenue under the WNBA's current financial reality equals bankruptcy, not potentially. Not down the road. Teams would start closing within 3 years. So what happens January 9th if no agreement exists? Based on current reporting, the most probable outcome is negotiations moving into a status quo period. The existing CBA technically continues during ongoing discussions. But remember the implications. The union can trigger a strike instantly without additional authorization. Training camps should begin in April. Season opener is scheduled for May. Picture being a sponsor trying to commit millions of dollars while uncertain if games will even exist for advertising. All pressure now rests on the players. The league offered a deal tripling salaries while introducing revenue sharing for the first time ever. Ownership demonstrated willingness to invest in growth. Adam Silver's personal involvement signals continued NBA financial support. Players are demanding terms that economists predict will bankrupt the league, and if they strike, if 2025 gets delayed or canceled, Caitlin Clark survives just fine. Her endorsement deals are worth tens of millions. Angel Reese has independent revenue streams. Top stars will manage. but players earning league minimum, those depending on overseas contracts, those counting on the salary increases the league proposed, they'll suffer most when this collapses. So every WNBA fan should ask their favorite players on social media the simple question. Is 30% of gross revenue worth destroying the greatest opportunity this league has ever seen? Because that choice is happening right now. Not theoretically. Not in some future negotiation. Right now, 48 hours from a deadline that could kill the season before it begins. The league revealed its position. They've proposed a path towards substantial salary growth tied to actual financial performance. Players must decide whether they want to build something lasting or demand terms that sound impressive in headlines but guarantee failure in accounting. What's your prediction for January 9th? Will the union face reality and accept the league's offer? Will they push for a status quo period while holding strike threats over the entire season? Or does Adam Silver step back and let owners lock players out until they return with reasonable demands? Share your thoughts in the comments, because we're about to discover whether the WNBA's breakthrough becomes its breaking point.